usual 10 minutes of praise. We go straight to the channel and dish praise to everyone on the team or in our community. And the timer starts now. We have just about 3 minutes left to this praise. We have about 10 seconds left. looking at the channel to see if there's anyone else writing. If not, we can pass on to the next section. Okay, let's see, no one's writing, so we are over with the praise part. Now we can start with the retrospective itself. As always, we have three questions. We're going to go one by one. There's going to be about 10 minutes to fill in the notes, and then about five to discuss with around 1 minute in the middle, just to be for all of us to read what was written. And yeah, so we start with this one. What should we continue? What's going well? Remembering that this is about processes and how we work together, and not so much about what we have delivered. And the timer starts now. We have little less than 2 minutes now. Okay, we're done with this part. I'm going to now just put like 30 seconds to give time for everyone to read the notes, and then we can jump into 5 minutes of discussion. All right, now let's jump onto the discussion. Let's put 5 minutes in just to chat about the questions and remembering that if by any chance or that we should, if possible, try to think of actionable items out of these questions. Um, and now let's start with you, Nate, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it was, I think we're getting a lot more activity, and I think that's been a really good positive sign for everybody in the community, not only on Twitter, but on the forum and having a bunch of discourse around that. So I think that's been pretty good. And I'll pass it over to Tam.
I actually really super enjoyed reading these because I think there's so much that's not on my radar, and it's really nice to be able to read these. I mean, I'm just coming back from vacation, so there's not so much that I had to add. But you know, this idea of the public accountability and presence in Twitter and improvements in, you know, the just streamlining payments, I think all of these were really nice to read. And crafting of the funding proposal, you know, the things that are a little off my radar that I am actually just super happy to celebrate in the retro with you guys. And I'll pass it to Bear.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yeah, so I think in terms of the team, I think it's really nice how we are being able to define a bit better like the different areas we want to continue focusing on. I think that's great, and defining our roles, and I think that's just gonna make our team stronger and more capable of driving things. And I'm also really enjoying how these different groups are starting to interact with each other and support each other, and it feels that there's a lot of momentum there, and it just feels good, and it feels pretty natural to me. That's something I've liked, that I don't think we're forcing anything, but we're just kind of like letting things flow, and in that flow, I think things are starting to find its place. So that's just super nice. And I'll pass it on to Gideon.
Thanks, Barrett. Yeah, one of the patterns I see in here is relates to a person, actually, and I think that person is Bear. So I've noticed over time that there are moments where particular people kind of stand up and just really show leadership. It's happened for a few of us here at different times. And I would say that, Bear, this is your time. A lot of the stuff that's showing up here is work that you've done over the last couple months. And yeah, it's great. I mean, it just shows what the focus on streamlining process and thinking about people and all that stuff is, it has an impact, and we're starting to see that. So I'm pretty psyched about that. Isaac.
Yeah, I guess not much to add. Very happy to see all of these, and I also agree with you, Gideon, that they're like in the different layers of the team, things have moved in at different speeds, and so like we've had the round and all that, which was a nice experience, but ultimately, what's been feeling, um, yeah, like I at least have the feeling that some stuff at the deeper levels of the team are getting just better and better over time, which is really good. Um, and yeah, just happy about how we are pulling off work lately, especially. With that, I'll just stop the timer. We have unless someone else wants to add something. Um, I'll stop the timer and we can move on. I'll count down to 5 to see if I stop the timer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Now we go on to the second one, which is stop. What should we stop doing, or what should we improve overall? It's always 10 minutes, and the timer starts now. there's just four things that we need to stop or improve. Sounds good, I guess. Let's try to get a few more things in. We have a little over half of the time for discussion. Well, I'll wait around 30 seconds, 1 minute more. If not, we can move on to the discussion part. Well, I'll stop the timer. Um, oh, I see you didn't writing. In the meantime, let's try to use this time to read all the notes so that we can jump straight into the discussion after this. Okay. I'll now start the timer, and let's get 5 minutes to discuss this question. And let's start with you, Gideon. Why not?
Okay. Well, I think one of the things that's coming out here is planning. Long-term planning, feedback from stakeholders into that planning, and then how that gets incorporated into our near-term priorities. I think that's still kind of we know that this is an area that needs work. We've got some plans underway with the TEC Advisory Network, and we've got some changes that we did like last week with the sprint planning that I thought were good. And so, I think we're going to solve this. It's just going to take a little bit of work to get us there. And then one of the other things I listed here was just Twitter. Now with the Gitcoin campaign being done, we don't really have like a reliable source of content or like categories of content that make it easy to tweet. So I think that's just thinking of kind of categorically, like what are the categories? What are the kinds of things that we want to be sharing in between campaigns? I think that's going to be important for us to figure out. I will pass to Nate.
Yeah, I think you said most of it. My biggest concern and things that we can improve on is the planning process. I still think there's a lot of projects that we're looking to do, a lot of initiatives that we can undertake, but knowing exactly what the priorities are and what our next move should be, we need better clarity. And it's not that I don't think we know what we want to do. I think it's just understanding of like, I don't know, I guess feeling like we have consensus among the stakeholders that this is the right path and moving forward with it. I think there's just a lot of hesitation in that area. So that's the only thing I'd add. And I'll pass it over to you, Bear.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. Yeah, I don't think I have any much else to say. I think I agree with this idea of the planning. I think we're getting better at it. I think last week or last sprint that we were able to start planning ahead for the actual sprint planning and coming up with more clear goals that we want to achieve during that sprint planning. I think that's probably a really good practice. And similar to that, it might be just a matter of finding those practices that we need to start involving, the advisory network and the other stakeholders and just try to streamline our planning process. Yeah, not much else to say. I'll pass it on to you, Tim.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the mute. Maybe I have some different perspectives about the planning because it seems, it's crucial, and it seems as if it's sort of still challenging. So the good thing I think actually is I think the planning and the call for funding are very well aligned. So I think that just the medium term, like what happens in the next 3 months, goes into our like what this team decides to do goes into that proposal, and then how we execute it should go into the sprint board. And I see that as a relatively straightforward process. And I think if we think the planning's not working, I think we should change something. That's what I think. So I don't know what it is exactly, but maybe there's another alignment session looking at the medium term, looking at the proposal, and then just sort of like a backlog grooming session to put things in the backlog so that they can be picked and executed. But there's something here. I think this is sort of my wheelhouse, so I can help with this. But that's the first thing that comes to mind, is that the timing is really nice because we will be announcing this advisory network and we'll be asking for the new round of funding for the coordination team. So I think it seems like the perfect time to make sure that what we are planning in the proposal is aligned with what we have in our sprint board. Yeah, that was the thing that stuck. And it's true, the weekly stand-up messages, the last one was mine on August 18th. We hate it. Who hates it? Why do you hate it so much? I would love to hear some feedback on what the why don't we do we not find it useful? Do we find it useful, but it's hard to track the things that we're doing? So I would actually love, maybe if we have time at the end of this, to get a temperature on, do you think it's useful? And then if you do think it's useful, what do you think is preventing you from actually doing it? And if you don't think it's useful, I'd love for us to explore that as well. And who didn't go yet?
I think it's just me left.
All right, back to you.
Thanks. And yeah, and like I guess these some of these we have chatted quite a bit already. And we have plans for it. Um, we just were like full on the grants program, and like I was not present during 1 week and all that. So it was, those plans did not move as quickly as we may have wanted to, but those are still things I am working on, and we in general are working on. So those are valid issues. Just, I guess, just saying, we have already um, thought of and have some sort of plan to tackle them, and hopefully with every single sprint we improve upon that. Okay, now let's go to the last question. So just overall ideas to try. Um, and again, 10 minutes. We seems like we're going to go a bit over the hour. I hope that's fine with everyone. If not, feel free to to leave, and I'll see in whatever. Let's go with this one. 10 minutes. The timer starts now. There's like we have like 3 minutes left. Um, no one's writing, so let's while we wait to see if there's any other idea, let's try to just read everything so that when the time finishes, we can jump straight into the discussion. Okay, I'll stop the timer now, and we can get the 5 minutes in. Oh, you know what? I won't even put a timer on this. Let's just talk a bit about ideas, and we can also chat about um the stand up, the daily stand up. So I'll just open the floor at this point. Hi, Joseph. How you doing? Um, yeah, I'll just open the floor. If whoever wants to jump in first, feel free to.
I'll jump in. I thought the thing that Tam mentioned is a really good practical springboard. So this idea of just looking at the proposal, the funding proposal, and saying, okay, we know these are the things that we're on the line to deliver. So let's take these, spread them out over, like month by month, and then just build a plan off that. Nothing. It doesn't have to be too fancy. Just just take those ideas, figure out when they have to be slotted in, and then use that to drive the sprint process. I think that would be super helpful. I think the other thing that popped out for me is I've been kind of wondering, like, God, how are we going to go, like, get Ethereum Foundation or somebody to kind of kick in money for the grants program as a sponsor? And then it occurred to me, like, maybe that's just overthinking it, and maybe what we need to do is just start small, right? And maybe say that it's like sponsorship equals $5,000, and we get one or two sponsors for this next round, right? Like maybe Block Science or somebody would be willing to do it. I mean, we certainly got a lot of exposure, so it would be great exposure for somebody and to be a sponsor. And I mean, assuming they didn't want to do it just out of the goodness of their hearts. So I think that there's like a way to just like put some packages together to say, like, okay, here's, we're looking for 2 or 3 of these, and they're 5,000 a pop. And even if we don't cover the full 25,000 in this next round, I mean, hopefully we would, but even if we don't, it will start to showcase what's possible, and we'll start to kind of build up our credibility slowly but surely. And I think that's probably a nice practical way to just get this going. I'll pass it over to whoever wants to go next.
I'll expand very quickly at least on that, because I was thinking, yeah, I mean, like we just have to go for it. By looking at proposals on chain, or by just talking with people, say, like, for example, I worked quite a bit with some of the folks that also made the Ethereum Argentina event, and it's like at the end of the day, you just have to ask, and people will say yes or no, and that's fine. Or sometimes even DF or the things like that. You go asking for 25, and if they can just give you 5, you get 5, and that's better than nothing. We just have to start with something and ask. It hurts. It doesn't hurt to just ask. So I think that should probably be one of our focus. I don't know if during this sprint, but soon, just to get a temperature check of how these projects are willing, or if they are willing to fund T stuff, and just sit down with them, have a conversation, and slowly get to improve our pitch to those organizations. Yeah, that's. I guess I'll also expand on my personal views on the ideas to try and all that. With what Tom said of the backlog grooming, maybe we have, I don't know, a monthly session or something like that, where we all sit down and just work on finding things to do and cleaning up past tasks and all that. We or I started with the assumption that we all were going to do it by ourselves and find time, but it seems like it's not the most optimal way. We seem to get overall we seem to get more things done when done synchronously, at least for these kinds of things. So maybe it makes sense to introduce one more call with fairly low frequency. I'm not sure if it should be like once per sprint. We'll see. Um, and then there's one idea of, well, with all the events in the community call, which we have one this now in September. It's not a concrete idea, but we should really think of um, making our relationships with other groups and folks better. This is something I talk about a lot. And just like past week, the Bonding Curve Research Group had our octopus make the case for attacking the augmented bonding curve, or just adversarial thinking about the augmented bonding curve, which was really nice. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, we probably can do a better work at supporting them, or just even having more of that content in house. And I'll shut down now.
I do have to hop, but the one thing I guess I want to say before I hop is I think we came up with some pretty good actions. For my part, I'll walk away with getting feedback for the stand-up check-in and see, just see, take a temperature check, see what is working for everyone, what's not working, and how we can adjust it so that it serves us instead of us serving the process. And with that, I'm gonna have to hop. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, NT, and thanks everyone. Really cool to see you guys again.
Thanks for joining. See you. Bye.
Yeah, for me, yeah, I think I agree with everything that has been said. I also think that these two action items about coming up, maybe it's just a like a content plan and an events plan, at least for this coming month of September. I think that probably be something we could take on the next sprint. And that'd be great. And yeah, and I also agree with what Tom and Gideon were mentioning about, probably taking the funding proposal and the priorities listed there as the starting point for us to be able to plan ahead these 3-4 months that we have remaining in the year, and then from that might be easier to break down all the different tasks and start planning out the different projects that we take. Yeah, that probably could be, or as we agreed on last week, on this idea of pre-planning the planning, right? So maybe this sprint it's about planning for the coming months. So I think that would be really good. And yeah, I'll pass it on to Nate.
Yeah, so my thinking around this is that, with the grants program, we do have a certain cadence with how we work. And I do think that we work really well together when we're, in motion. And it's been evident within the both of the grant rounds that when we have a project such as this, we swarm really well. But it's those in-between times between the grant rounds where we kind of have this kind of, fledgling of we're just kind of floating around and trying to figure out what else is to do. And I think that, having kind of, these things like the, whether it's incubation program or finding sponsors or something like that, having these blocked out for, set sprints between these grant rounds would be really good, just to know ahead of time and to be able to all swarm around that type of initiative would be really beneficial for everyone. I think that when we do swarm, we work really well together. But when there's not something concrete to do right away, and we're not in motion, it gets kind of tricky. And so I think just setting the priorities and blocking like set sprints, even if they have to be longer, in my opinion, I think would be really beneficial. Just to say, hey, during this month and a half, we're going to actually focus on getting sponsors for this, and let's execute on it. Let's figure out a way to do that. And so that's my biggest takeaway from this. And then just blocking out longer term planning for these sprints in between these grant programs. Yeah, I think that's it. Pass it back to you. Oh, I didn't see Joseph. Hey, Joseph.
Hey, how's it going? I'll just drop my quick little 2 pence or 2 cents for you guys in the US. Yeah, I definitely agree with Nate. I definitely think that having a overarching plan of what we want to kind of cover and get done, whether it's like funding or whether it's projects like getting the website and branding for like for the TEC done, and having a collective effort from like all team members focus on one kind of big project rather than it being like silos of people doing different things is kind of the best practice in my opinion anyway. And I'll pass it back to Gideon.
Well, seems like we have all spoken. I don't know. So, does anyone else has something else that they want to share? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Well, that's good. I enjoyed this session. I hope everyone else did as well. If again, if any of these in the retrospective sparked any idea, feel free to add it to your work for tomorrow's planning. And of course, talking about tomorrow's planning, remember to update the status of the tasks, to fill in any task information, whatever, from the past sprint for this closing sprint, and just to think of work to do for the next one. Last week we did what I thought was a decent session of just saying work that needed to be done in like buckets of work, and just like brainstorming a bit around it, just to get everyone sort of a bit of an idea of which things we could take on. So feel free to just have a look at it again. It's on the last Team Weekly meeting notes. So I would expect for tomorrow. I would expect tomorrow for us to have like a decent or a better sprint planning, hopefully, and we'll just keep improving this process. And yeah, if there's nothing else, I'll see you guys tomorrow. 5, 4, 3. Yep.
Oh no, I was just gonna say goodbye. Sorry.
Oh well. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks.
See you, everybody.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.